Heart at the Hazbin Hotel, a fan fiction by me, Anime Grey Wolf 95. Hazbin Hotel and its characters are owned by Vivziepop. My OC Heart is owned by me. Now, since there's only the pilot out for the show right now, and everything is a mystery about the hotel and everything about it, there's a lot of the story that's just going to be part of my imagination. Some characters are going to be very out of character, since not much is known about them except what's been given so far. Plus, I'm not sure how the characters would act, so I'm doing all the best I can. It's still a fan fiction. Not everything is going to be perfect. So, without further ado, let's start Chapter 1, The Happy Hotel. Heart's point of view. I looked down at the piece of parchment paper I had in my hand, my handwriting almost unreadable. I remember tried to write down all the information I could from a few days ago off the TV. A slight rain was starting to fall as I made my way down the road to my destination. It was hitting the tips of my wolf ears in annoyance. I just hoped I was going the right way. I have only been past this place twice before in my time here. I try not to go out much. I had on my back all my belongings I could carry with me in my bag. I know my sister wouldn't miss me or my stuff. This place I was going, I planned to stay there for as long as possible. Man, I can't even imagine what this place would be like. I feel I could finally find what I have been looking for. A place in heaven. I never belonged in hell in the first place. I was always a good girl when I was alive and human. I just blame my parents for pushing me too far. That night will always haunt me, even in death. I turned the corner of the next street, and then I saw it. Just ahead of me lay the place I was looking for. The Happy Hotel. A place of redemption, a place of change, a place to try and be better. This is where I belong, and where I plan to be. I wanted to come here to help the little hotel, but also to help myself as well. A way to pick up my feet for its new beginnings. I knew I wasn't the worst person in hell that needed redemption, but I wanted out of this place. I kept to myself. I had no friends. I had my sister, but she isn't much company. Just another annoyance to my everyday life. When I saw Princess Charlie on the TV the other day talking about the hotel, I was amazed. I remember my tail wagging with excitement. I was just intrigued. I wanted to be there. I felt bad for her when people laughed at her after her idea after she finished singing. Poor girl. I wanted to be there for her, to help her. I walked past a closed storefront and looked at my reflection to see if I still looked okay. I had my same attire on, my red coat with my purple vest and a light red shirt underneath. I straightened my light red bow tie as well as my choker that hung around my neck and fixed my heart pendant that hung from it. I fixed my hair a little, made sure my ears were clean as well as my horns. My wings looked alright, and I made sure my tail was extra brushed today before I left. I was a wolf dragon demon. I have wolf and dragon parts, but for the most part I was in a normal human looking form. I only took my full demon forms when I needed to. I continued to walk, then got closer to the doors of the hotel. I looked down once again at the paper in my hand to double check the address. This is it. I smiled and walked up to the door. My tail starts to wag a little. I didn't hesitate. I knocked a few times on the door and then stood there to wait. Not even a minute went by and the door swung open. There to greet me was the Princess of Hell herself, Charlie. She was dressed in her normal attire, and her blonde hair was shining from the lights that hung from the doorway. She smiled wide. "Hello! Welcome to the Happy Hotel," she greeted excitingly, a bounce in her voice. "I am the runner of this fine place. My name is Charlie." She extended her hand out to me. I took her hand without question and shook it. "My name is Heart. It's finally nice to meet you in person." I took my hand back. "I actually saw you on the news the other day." Charlie blushed a little and looked down slightly. I knew that it was a little embarrassing for her because of the fight she had with the news anchor. As soon as I heard about your hotel here, I needed to come. That statement seemed to lift the girl's spirits. I wish to help you, if I can, but at the same time, I wish to get redeemed, I told her. Of course! That's what we're here for, and I'm glad to hear you're willing to help out. We could use the extra hands. Charlie grabbed my hand again. Come inside. I'll introduce you to everyone. Plus, you can tell me a little about yourself. Then we can get you a room. She pulled me in through the doorway. I know you'll love it here. I walk in and Charlie closes the door behind me. I'm amazed by how fantastic the hotel looked on the inside. If it was great on the outside, it looked just as good on the inside. The bright colors, there was pictures on the walls, the pretty furniture, the very interesting front desk/bar, and the amazing fireplace on the other side of the room. All was washing over me. I stopped in my state of awe. I got out of my thoughts when Charlie grabbed my hand again. Amazing, I know. My staff did an amazing job cleaning this place up, Charlie said to me as she led me to the gray-winged and white cat demon managing the bar. He had a bottle of booze in his hand and looked like he was ready to fall asleep. Husk! Charlie greeted the cat demon. Husk jumped up in surprise and squinted his eyes. The fuck you want? He asked in a slur, taking another sip of booze. Charlie seemed to not be fazed by the bath-mouthed demon. Husk, we have a new hotel guest. I wanted to introduce you to her, she said with a big smile. Oh yeah? Nice to meet you. Now go fuck yourself and scram, Husk said and then walked away. Charlie rubbed the back of her head with slight embarrassment as Husk walked away. Sorry about him. You'll warm up to you eventually, she said. No worries. He seems charming, I said, trying to find a nice word to say about the cat demon. Charlie then takes me over to the couch in front of the fireplace where a spider demon was sitting. I walked around to the front of the couch and automatically knew who the demon was. The adult film star, Angel Dust. Oh my goodness, you're Angel Dust, I blurted out with excitement. Angel smiled big. Another fan, I see, he chuckled. I nodded. Oh yes, you were probably one of my favorites. I then go to tell him about which movie of his was my favorite. I reached into my bag and pulled out a DVD copy of the movie I mentioned. Think you can sign my copy for me? I asked him. Angel reached into his chest fluff and pulled out a marker. That was an enjoyable one indeed. But hell yeah, I'll sign it for you, babe. Anything for a fan, he said as he took the movie from my hands and signed it. I took the movie back from him when he was finished. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to never lose this, and I know my sister won't steal it from me again since I'll be here. I put the DVD back in my bag. Angel smirked. You know, if you ever need someone to scratch that itch for you, just come to me, 'cause I know some people. He snapped his fingers and pointed them at me with a devilish smile. I blushed at this statement. Just because I watched the movies doesn't mean the thought crossed my mind to have sex with anybody, especially down here. Charlie then stepped in, trying to change the subject. Angel, this is Hart. I brought her over here to introduce you. She's going to be staying here at the hotel. Angel let out a laugh. Fuck. Another redemption seeker. Welcome to the joint and make yourself at home. It's wonderful here. I could tell there was a slight hint of sarcasm to his voice. I could tell that he didn't want to be here. Hart, please sit. Charlie gestured me to sit on the couch. I want to hear all about you. That way, we can help you. I'd let you meet the others, but they aren't around right now, so hopefully they'll stop by later. Charlie sat down next to Angel on the couch. I took a breath and sat down next to Charlie. I was nervous, unsure of what to say or where to start. I've never had to tell anyone my life story before. Well, let me see. Where would you like me to start? I asked, playing with my hands a little. Charlie smiled and laid a hand on my shoulder. Don't be nervous. I understand it's hard. How about you start when you were human? I took a breath to calm myself and think of what to say. I looked at the fire and it calmed me a little. Well, I guess I'll start about me. I died in 1945. I'm 25 years old. At least I died. That's how old I was. I used to live in Tennessee with my parents and my younger half-sister Elizabeth, but she liked to go by Lizzie. My mom was a drunk, plus liked to abuse us, and my dad was a coal miner. They didn't give two shits about us. My younger sister wasn't any better. She used to get in trouble and steal all the time. So you can say my family was a little messed up. To be honest, I feel like I was the normal one out of them all. I took a pause to where to go next. My memories of the past weren't the best, and I tried my best to push them down for now. Angel lit a push sound escape his lips. Wow, but I got you beat, kid, with my family. We were all shitbags, my dad especially, Angel said. Charlie smacked Angel on one of his arms. Angel, don't be rude. Let her finish. Charlie turned to me. Well, if you felt the normal one, how'd you end up down here? Charlie asked, a look of concern on her face. I sighed. I got angry. I was blinded by hate. I had enough of it. I lived 20 years with my mom abusing me, beating me, and threatening me. One day, I just snapped and couldn't stand her any longer. When she fell asleep on the couch that night, I took the knife from the kitchen and stabbed her at least 20 times right in her chest and neck. I hated her so much. At the time, when I was doing the stabbing, it felt good. I felt relieved. Almost free. A tear fell down my face, but I quickly wiped it away. Unfortunately, I didn't stop there, because I went to my parents' room, took a pillow, and suffocated my dad in his sleep. Hate blinded me. When I was done with it all and my adrenaline stopped, I realized what I had done. I couldn't stand it. I ran out of the house into the police station down the street. I turned myself in. I just had all this guilt on my shoulders, and I just couldn't stand it. My hands pulled into fists. I still hate my parents, and have avoided them all these years down here. Where was Lizzie during all this? Charlie asked me. Luckily, my sister wasn't at home at the time. She was spending the weekend over her real mother's house. I wouldn't have harmed her, though. I loved my sister. To a point, anyway. She never did anything to hurt me. Just was annoying like any other sibling, I answered. Charlie nodded. Then how did you die? I took a breath and let it out. Well, the police started an investigation, but I didn't know why they bothered. I confessed everything to them. I was in a holding cell. They were transferring me to a real prison the next morning. I don't know why they bothered. They knew I was guilty. I was probably going to die. At least get life in prison. I didn't want to deal with that. Plus, all that guilt weighing on my shoulders. I didn't want to live with that the rest of my life. So I took the bedsheets from my bed in my cell, tied them up, and hung myself from a beam that hung from my cell bed. I made sure to jump fast and hard. I died instantly. Then, when I woke up, I found myself here, in hell. The last place I expected to be. But I figured with what happened and what I'd done, it didn't take too long to sink in. I let out more tears. I hate it here. Charlie wrapped her arm around my shoulders. Shh, it's okay. I understand. You were a kind person in life, and then you made one mistake and it screwed you over. So you ended up here. Charlie handed me a tissue from her back pocket. I took it with a thanks and wiped away my tears. What about your sister? What happened to her? Angel asked. Her real mom got custody of her. She played around with the wrong people when she got older. Then in 1959, she died by getting shot by police from a theft gone wrong. Ironically, she ended up in hell too. She found me and has been living with me ever since. That's how I know how all that happened, I told them. I reached into my bag and pulled out a picture of me and my sister to show them what we looked like in hell. Angel whistled. She's a doll. Tell me where she is, and I'll give her a good bone to fetch. I know some people, Angel said with a cackle. My half-sister was a wolf demon, so I understood where he was getting at by making the bone joke. I gave out a small chuckle at Angel. Sorry, man. She'd probably rip your dick off if you tried to get anywhere close to her. Angel sat back on the couch, closing his eyes and crossing his arms. It's her loss. We all jumped in surprise when the front doors of the hotel opened, and standing there was a girl with long white hair that covered part of her face. A red X was over her left eye. She had a few bags of groceries in her arms. "Ah, Vaggie, you're back!" Charlie greeted as she got up from the couch and walked over to the girl to help her with the bags. "Sorry I took so long. It's been a while since I had to go shopping, so I wasn't sure all to get," Vaggie said as she handed some bags to Charlie. Vaggie looked up and saw me sitting on the couch with Angel. "Charlie, do we have a new hotel guest?" she asked with a little excitement in her voice. "We do! Let me introduce you to them real fast, and then we can take the groceries to the kitchen," Charlie said, and walked back over with Vaggie to the couch. "Heart, this is my friend Vaggie. She is like my rock through all this, keeping me calm, focused, and on track," Charlie said with a smile and looked at Vaggie. You could tell the moth demon girl was embarrassed by the introduction because of the small blush that crept onto her cheeks. "It's nice to meet you, Vaggie. My name is Heart, and I hope that you can help me as well while I'm here. I plan to help you guys at the same time, so I'm excited to work with you," I said. "Thank you, and I hope you have a nice time here. Just be careful," Vaggie said. I wasn't sure what she meant by be careful, especially here at the hotel. I was safe here, wasn't I? I didn't dare to question what she meant, but maybe I'll ask her later. "I'll try. Thank you," I said with an unsureness in my voice. "Angel, can you help us put some of the stuff away in the kitchen?" Charlie asked the spider demon. "You are taller than us and can reach much higher." Angel threw his head back, groaning in annoyance. Fine, but just this once," he said, standing up from the couch. Charlie turned to me. "Sorry, Heart, will you be okay here for a moment while I help out? I'll show you to the room after I'm done," she said with an apologetic look. I waved her off. "Oh, of course. It'll be fine. You do what you need to do," I told her. Charlie nodded with a small smile. "Be back in a jiffy," she said, and the three headed towards the kitchen. I sat there on the couch, looking at the fire as it burned bright. I was warm and content. I felt safe, and for once in my life, I wasn't afraid of hell. It was more amazing than that little shithole I called home for the last 75 years. I just hope Lizzie was okay, but I know she can look after herself. I sat back on the couch and let out a small sigh in content and closed my eyes. That's when I felt it. A static seemed to fill the air. My hair on my arms seemed to rise from it. What in the world was going on? I perked up my ears, and then I heard footsteps clicking on the floors. They were distant at first. There was also a small tune being hummed. I couldn't make out the song, but I heard them come closer and closer. Then I heard them on the steps as they slowly made their way down. Who was it? Was it my imagination? Did I fall asleep? I felt scared a moment. My fur on my ears were feeling tingly now from the static sound as it sounded louder as it got closer to me. Soon the footsteps stopped, as well as the humming, but I felt a presence by me. The air was thick with the static, and my hair on my arms wouldn't go down. I almost didn't want to open my eyes, but there was something that seemed to make me open them. I slowly opened my eyes, and the static seemed to lift immediately. I looked at the fire in front of me first, and then to my left, looking at the doors of the hotel. I saw nothing. Was I dreaming? Then I looked to my right. That's when I saw them. I almost let out a scream, but I didn't. I couldn't. It's like it was stuck. I held my breath at the sight of the person next to me. The light of the fire hit them to show them off to me. It was a man. He was tall and very skinny, and dressed in all red. He looked to be a deer demon from the small horns that stuck out on the top of his red and black hair. His ears were up in anticipation. A large grin was across his face that showed a row of sharp teeth. His crimson eyes glowed, even in the firelight. He slowly made his way to the front of me. My eyes never left his. I was frozen in place. I couldn't think. I couldn't speak. Time seemed to stop, or at least slow, as I tried to take it all in. I was trying to think, where had I seen him before? Then it clicked, and I automatically knew who he was. I heard the stories and seen old posters that were posted around the buildings in hell. "The radio demon," I finally said, but in a small whisper. Either he ignored the statement or just didn't hear me, but he quickly reached out and grabbed one of my hands. "It's a pleasure to meet you, my dear. My name is Alistair. I help Charlie run this fine establishment here," the demon greeted. The radio-sounding voice threw me off a moment. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I looked like a fish out of water. I definitely felt like I was drowning. His clawed hand holding mine calmed me a moment. His eyes almost kept me in a trance, though. I'm Hart, I finally got out. "A very nice name for you, I will agree. You are a very nice specimen, that indeed," Alistair said as he let go of my hand. I blushed at the dear demon's words. He seemed to be a real gentleman. "Thanks," I whispered. Alistair chuckled a moment and fixed his monocle on his face. "I heard from a little bird that a new resident was here in the hotel, so I wanted to take the pleasure to greet them myself. I see Charlie is missing in action, so I'm sorry for not coming down to see you earlier." He bowed slightly at his apology. "Charlie went in the kitchen to put away groceries. I'm glad to finally meet you, Alistair," I said. My eyes couldn't leave him. What was it about him? I felt scared when I first saw him, but now the fear was subsiding, and I started to feel calmer. "As the same to you, darling. I do hope you enjoy yourself here," Alistair said to me. His smile never left his face. I then heard footsteps and saw Charlie, Vaggie, and Angel all coming out of the kitchen. Vaggie's expression soon turned to anger. "Alistair, what are you doing to her? You better not be scaring the new girl," Vaggie hissed. "I did nothing to her, dearie. I just introduced myself. I didn't harm a hair on her head," Alistair said, and he put a hand on my head, avoiding my horns, and started to pet me slightly. My ears shut up in surprise from the action, but my tail wagged a little from being petted. Vaggie growled and walked away. Charlie walked up to us. "I'm glad you're finally able to meet Al here. He's done a lot for us at this place so far." Alistair put an arm around her shoulders. "I'm happy to help." Charlie grabbed Alistair's hand and unwrapped his arm around her. "You're still creepy, Al," she stated. Alistair was unfazed by Charlie's action and still smiled. "So, Hart, are you ready to head to your room?" Charlie asked me. I nodded and stood up from the couch. I started to reach for my bag, but Alistair reached down first and picked it up. "Let me get that for you, sweetheart." Alistair looked at Charlie. "Charlie, my dear, let me show our new guest to her room. It's the least I could do since you've been so busy." Charlie had a surprised look on her face. I assumed she wasn't used to the radio demon's action. "Well, okay, sure. Thanks, Alistair. Just remember to sign her in and assign her a room key," Charlie reminded him. She then looked at me. "If you need anything, Hart, just call us down here and let us know." I nodded. "No worries, I can handle it. Now off you go," Alistair said, making a shooing motion with his hands at her. Charlie smiled and waved by and headed back off to the kitchen. I looked to Alistair. I still have a twinge of fear from him. He held his hand out to me. "Shall we?" I was hesitant at first, but I took the radio demon's hand, and he led me over to the front desk, my bag still slung around his arm. Alistair went behind the front desk and grabbed a key from the many hanging on the wall. He then went to the small book that laid on top of the desk. I watched him write as I sat on one of the bar stools. He wrote my name and my room number down, and then put the pen back on the book. I took a close look at the book and noticed that there was no other names written besides Angel's, Huss, and someone named Nifty. Alistair came back around the front of the desk. He held up the key to read real fast. "Room 217, he said, and put the key back down. "Allow me to show you to your room," Alistair said as he held out his hand to me again. His toothy grin was still wide on his face as he looked at me. I took his hand again, but with no hesitation this time. "I would like that," I said as I smiled. Alistair took his other hand and placed a clawed finger under my chin. "Ah, that's much better. I was hoping I would get a smile out of you, darling. I say, you're never fully dressed without one." Alistair started to walk towards the stairs with me in tow. I chuckled from that. I thought it was an interesting phrase. I will admit that Alistair was scary, but he had an interesting vibe about him. I know that he had just been being kind to me, but I knew deep down that Alistair had cruel intentions. Alistair chuckled. Ah, laughter! I love it! You have a nice one especially, my dear. Alistair purred to me as he looked over his shoulder. I blushed like mad from that as we walked down the hallway. The dear demon was hard to figure out. Not that I had ever figured out demons before, but Alistair confused me. I never liked the company of demons. I always kept to myself. I've been attacked a few times in the streets, but I got away barely. I remember that one day a demon might kill me in the streets. I'm afraid that Alistair might possibly be one of them if I ever met him alone outside of the hotel. Soon we arrived at the door and stopped. The room was the very last door at the end of the hallway on the left. Alistair took the key in his hand and unlocked the door. He pushed it open and we walked inside. He flicked the main lights on in the process. The room was very big and a little messy. Dust hung heavily from everything. Some of the furniture was a little messed up as well from being out of place. The bed was a king size, but it wasn't made. I could see that there was a dresser and a vanity in the room. A chest sat at the foot of the bed. To the left of the room was a bathroom, a window to the right. I went to the window and looked out. I saw a small part of the sea stretched out to me. I let out a small smile from the view I had. I looked up and saw the reflection of Alistair's face. His eyes glowed against the window pane. I jumped a little in surprise. "Sorry there, I didn't mean to give you a fright," Alistair apologized. I let out a small chuckle. "It's okay, Al. I actually forgot you were here with me." I looked back to the window. "Is the room to your liking?" Alistair asked. I looked back to the red-haired demon. "Oh, most definitely. It's big, but I like it. After I clean it up a little, it'll probably start to feel like home soon enough," I told him. "I can have Nifty come up here and help you out. She loves to clean the little thing. I even let her know that to bring you up some sheets for your bed." Alistair took my bag off his arm and placed it on the chest at the foot of the bed, as well as my room key. "Also, as Charlie said as well, if you need anything, please let me know. I am residing in the room diagonal from you, so if you need anything, I'll probably be the first to help you," Alistair reminded me as he put his hands behind his back. Across the room from Alistair? Oh boy, I had a moment of panic and worry. Did he just want me close to eventually hurt me? I didn't know if I liked the idea, but maybe after a few days I'll get used to it. Nonetheless, it was nice to mentally have that feeling of a powerful being nearby, if needed. "Thanks, Alistair. It's nice to know that you'll be close by," I thanked with a small smile. "Of course, I am happy to be of service." Alistair walked up till he was close to me. I couldn't move. I didn't want to. I looked up into his crimson eyes as he looked down at me. He was closer to me than before. That I could smell him better. He smelled of old books that you would get from the library. His smile softened a little, and he took my chin in his fingers. "Keep smiling, my dear," was all he said before he let go of my chin, turned on his heels, and walked out the door. He closed it behind them. My heart was racing. I could feel it in my chest. I was holding my breath, and I didn't realize it. He got so close to me. Did he want to remember my scent? I wasn't at all sure, but it was a little freaky. I felt scared at first, but when he got close, what was this other feeling I had? I couldn't figure it out. I looked out the window again. I grabbed one of the old chairs in the room and sat by the window. I got lost in my thoughts from the day. Charlie was an amazing person. She was so kind, and I was glad I came here. I wish more demons gave her respect. Angel was a little more than I anticipated. The man seemed to be horny 24/7, but I wasn't going to get caught in his web of sex. I still enjoyed him as an actor, though. Husk, well, let's just say he's an asshole. Vaggie, even though I met her for a little bit of time, seemed nice, but didn't seem to enjoy the presence of Alistair around. Alistair, the radio demon. I couldn't understand him. He was so nice and charming, minus the little bit of creepiness he gave off. I couldn't figure it out, though. Why was he so touchy? Was he always so annoying of personal space? I sighed in frustration. It was making my brain hurt. Maybe a few more days here in the hotel and I'll understand him a little better. Plus, I can always ask around the others, too. There was a knock at my door. I got up from the chair and walked to the door and opened it. I looked for a moment, then looked down. I saw a little one-eyed Cyclops demon girl standing in my doorway, but I couldn't see much of her because she was carrying some sheets. "Grab these, please," the small girl said. I quickly took the sheets from her. "Hi, I'm Nifty. You must be Hart. Alistair told me to come up here and help you clean." She talked so fast. "Oh man, this room is dusty." She ran into the room and was pulled out a duster and was quickly making work of the room. She was an interesting little demon. Never seen one who loved to clean. I waited as she quickly cleaned the bed a bit, and I took the sheets and laid them down to make the bed. Nifty started talking, and "I don't understand why Alistair didn't just put you in a room I already cleaned. I didn't even touch this room besides his. I remember him saying he didn't want anyone living on the same floor as him. I wonder what changed his mind," she said as she worked around the room. "He even gave you one of the suites rooms. That's strange." Nifty may have talked fast, but I was catching on to what she was saying. I kept trying to make the bed, but now Nifty had me thinking again, so I was doing it a little slower now. "Alistair gave me this room, but she says he didn't want anyone on the same floor as him, so it's not like it was a mistake from somebody else. Alistair personally gave me this room. Why, though?" Again, the dear demon had me confused and wondering what his plan was. I didn't see it as anything good. Nifty stopped and looked at me, and she stood on the bed. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked. I snapped out of my thoughts. "I'm fine. It's nothing," I told her. Nifty shrugged and continued to clean. I managed to finally finish the bed. Nifty put a new light bulb in the small lamp by the bed. "There, all clean. Alistair better thank me for this," Nifty said. I looked at the small demon. "Thanks, Nifty. You did an amazing job." "You're welcome. See you around," Nifty said, and then ran out the door. I sat at the end of the bed and put my face in my hands. I was so confused by all this. I realized that maybe I was just thinking of it too hard and shouldn't worry. I am here to find redemption, so I can finally get a place in heaven. Plus, help this hotel make it have a good light. Nothing was going to change my mind for what I wanted. Not even Alistair. Third person point of view. Charlie looked into the sign-in book to make sure Alistair had done everything correctly and how she wanted, but was in a state of confusion. Alistair had put down the number of a room that he specifically said was off limits. Not only that, but the room was a suite. He didn't want anyone on the same floor as him. Why did he put Hart there? Charlie saw the radio demon walk down the steps. She closed the logbook and walked up to him. She wanted to ask him about this, just to make sure there wasn't any misunderstanding. "Alistair, I thought you told me you didn't want anybody on the same floor as you. You put Hart in 217. That's right diagonal from you. Plus, it's a suite." Charlie put her arms on her hips. "Care to explain?" Alistair just smiled and looked down at her. "I don't see why the big deal is and why I should explain my actions to you," he said. "Because this is my hotel and I need to know what's going on. You put this rule down yourself and you went and broke it," Charlie said sternly. Alistair was unfazed by the girl's small anger. He just chuckled. "I was the one showing her to her room, so I had control. So I decided to put her there because I wanted her there. End of story," the dear demon said, and his voice got a little deeper at the end and his face darkened. Charlie sighed. She didn't want to anger him. That's the last thing she needed. "Okay, fine, but just remember, you put her there," she said, pointing at him sternly. She turned on her heels and walked away from him. Alistair turned and looked back up the steps. "That's because that is where she will be the safest," he said softly under his breath. Alistair turned around and continued to walk so that he could find Nifty to help Hart out with her room. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 will be continued next.